Welcome! So in this video, I'm going to give you my 5 cents on the Leafs moves on trade deadline day for center/left winger Scott Laughton, formerly of the Philadelphia Flyers, and of course, right-handed defenseman Brandon Carlo of the Boston Bruins. Before we get started though, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Really helps the algorithm, obviously. And do the subscribe thing. That was me hitting a fake button. Hit the fake button. All right, let's jump right in. Let's start with Scott Laughton. Now, they also got a 4th and a 6th round pick from Philly in that deal from 2025, 2027, respectively, in exchange for Nikita Grabenkin, the fan favorite forward, back check, paycheck. Did I mess that up? Forecheck, back check, paycheck. Philly also got a conditional 1st round pick from the Leafs for 2027, but they also retained 50% of Scott Laughton's contract, which is, let's start with the positives. That's a big one. He's with them for one more season after this for $1.5 million, which will be huge next season. They finally get the centerman they've been looking for. Could have they gotten better? Sure, but prices were so very high out there. In the context of what everyone else was paying, I think what they paid was somewhat reasonable. Now, he also plays left wing. He's actually played more left wing with the Flyers this season so far, but he's 6'1", 191 pounds from Oakville, Ontario. Is a hometown boy, as you probably know already. 30 years old, has a birthday in May. This season so far, in 60 games, he's got 11 goals, 27 points. He's been averaging just over 15 minutes a game. In terms of playoff games, he's got about 24 under his belt. The most recent and most notable come from 2019-20, where in 15 games, he had 5 goals, 9 points, played just under 15.5 minutes a game, and he's in the plus category. The Flyers locker room love this guy, so did the coach. He's a playoff type. He goes to the front of the net. He pushes guys around. I'm very curious to see how he gels with a player like Domi, for example. Kind of a mini nasty line there. He's supposed to be very defensively responsible and could score you the occasional goal. So that's the upside. The downsides are that he hasn't played center much recently, and his face-off win percentage with the Flyers this year was a hair under 50%, so not really that bad. And after his first game with the Leafs, I think it was at 57%. So that's good. We'll see how long that lasts. He's not the fleetest of foot, which is why I think the Flyers bumped him to wing. He's a left shot, not a righty, which the Leafs desperately needed in the face-off dot. But it's not the end of the world. The biggest knock here is probably that he's got no potential to be a 2C, right? Unlike a Brock Nelson or even a Charlie Coyle, who were both traded for by the Colorado Avalanche. If JT or Austin Matthews goes down, you want that guy to step in just in case. And I don't see Laughton doing that, but he'll have to in this case, right? And for a guy who hasn't played much center this year, it's a little scary. I mean, the Leafs do have a plethora of guys who kind of play center, like Holmberg and Domi and Lorentz, but none of them who I'd want to put in the top 6, at least to the center position. How do I grade this trade? I'm going to give it like a B-. Apparently, he says his favorite players were Wade Belak, Ty Domi, Shane Corson, and Darcy Tucker. If he can play anything like Darcy Tucker, I'll be over the moon. Now, moving on here, let's talk about Brandon Carlo, who they got from the Boston Bruins. Funny enough, both of these guys, by the way, have never been traded in their careers. They've stayed with their respective teams so far until now. So Carlo, right-handed shot, 6'5", 217 pounds. Was actually from Colorado Springs, Colorado. He's 28 years old, has a birthday in November. And the payment for him in this trade was Fraser Minton, who is a future 3C, we think. A top 5 first-round protected draft pick in 2026. A 4th-round pick in 2025. But Boston also retains 15% of his contract. So Leafs are paying him. And he signed for 2 more seasons after this, by the way. And the Leafs are paying him just under, I'm going to say, $3.5 million per season. That's fantastic for Brandon Carlo. For a top 4 D-man who's massive and has at least a little bit of a mean streak in him, that's huge. Did I say he was 6'5", 217 pounds? He's also fantastic on the penalty kill because he's so lanky. He's tough in front of the net. Not to mention, with Boston this season, he's averaged just under 19 minutes a game. And in the playoffs, he's averaged around 20. Speaking of playoffs, he's played over 72 games. Now, he's not a big point getter, but in all of those, he's been a plus 11 his entire career. And we know that he's going to be playing with Morgan Rielly. Probably. Unless that doesn't work for whatever reason, and they put him besides OEL. But he's going to start with Riley. So he's got someone who can move the puck for him. And that's where we get into the negative part. He's not the greatest puck mover. He's not the fastest skater. Could he be a bit meaner for a guy his size? I think so. He also, I believe it was last year, had a couple concussions. I think he's had 6 in his NHL career. Something just to keep an eye on. But I'm real happy with this. I mean, in Kyle Dubas's entire tenure, the only real right shot, mean, big defenseman they were able to get was Luke Schenn, who I wish they kept. And now traveling has got Tanev and Carlo. Fantastic work. In my perfect world, they would have gotten another defenseman like a Luke Schenn to bump Myers off that bottom pairing. Because right now, we're looking at Riley, Carlo, McCabe, Tanev, and then OEL finally slots in where he should be in the bottom pairing with Myers. Now, OEL and McCabe are left-handed shots, as you know, who can play the right if need be, but are much better on their natural side. So that's why this trade means even more, of course. Finally, a big, semi-mean, large defenseman who shoots right. Sometimes you don't get what you want, but you get what you need. And I'm going to give this trade a B+. I think overall, we could say B, B+, whatever. And I didn't talk about where Scott Laughton might land in the lineup, but in the Colorado Avalanche game, which I'm filming this just afterwards, he played with McMahon and Domi on the wing. Now, they didn't have the greatest game. Laughton was kind of yuck because he looked like he was out of position a lot of times, especially in the defensive zone. But once he gets to learn the systems, etc., I know they'll get better. I mean, Carlo wasn't great in the first 10 minutes, but improved a lot over the remainder of the game. In any case, I'd love to know what you think of this trade and how you would grade it down in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and smash that subscribe button if you happen to be new to the channel. And if you'd like to support me, you can do that through my crowdfunding site called Buy Me a Coffee. You'll see a link down below. Thanks again, and please remember to be excellent to each other.